for those of you who are here, thank you very much for showing up on kind of a difficult day. But we've got a bill that we want to talk to you about. I'm Senator Scott Newman. I'm chairman of the Transportation Finance Committee. And I just want to give you a couple of preliminary thoughts before we talk about the two bills that we have in mind. First of all, the bills that we're going to talk about deal with the auto parts sales tax money. And it's not a new idea. It is simply a shift of existing sales tax money. We already have in law a set amount of money that is taken out auto parts sales tax. And yeah, come on up, guys. And is put into the HUTDF fund. So there are no changes in the existing law except the percentage that we will be talking about, and that's 100% of the auto parts sales tax. I also want to just emphasize on you that transportation infrastructure is really, really expensive. It costs lots of money. Best example I can give you is the bridge they're building up in Duluth. $1.8 billion for a bridge. So keep in mind just the expense that is involved in transportation and just how important it to the state of Minnesota, the people here, and our economy. It is absolutely vital that we have a vibrant transportation system. So the two bills that we're going to talk about is sort of two versions of the same idea. And that is to take the existing auto parts sales tax out of the general fund and put it into the highway user tax distribution fund. And from there it would then be used for purpose of building roads, bridges, infrastructure that the state of Minnesota needs so desperately. Keep this in mind. Currently, almost all of transportation infrastructure is paid for by user fees. By that, people who drive on our roads. It is the gas tax, it is the sales tax on automobiles, it is the license tabs on the license plates. And so those are all user fees, and almost none of that money comes out of the general fund. Now, keep in mind that, at least in my opinion, we've got a real problem coming with our gas tax revenue. Approximately a third of the money that goes into our transportation infrastructure comes from the gas tax. And the gas tax is a dying star. And it's dying because of electric vehicles, and that's not a criticism of electric vehicles, it's a realistic statement. Electric vehicles do not pay a gas tax. And the other thing is that our automobiles and our trucks are just becoming more and more efficient. And so we are in the future, in the not too distant future, we're going to lose an awful lot of the money that is scheduled to go into HUTDF that we need for our transportation infrastructure. Last thing I want you to keep in mind is this. I'm talking about general fund money. That's the auto parts sales tax money. Approximately 0.5% of the entire general fund goes to transportation. 0.5%. By comparison, add up education and health and human services, approximately 75% of the general fund. And of the 0.5% that transportation gets currently out of the general fund, only a small portion of that goes to roads and bridges. So the reality of it is that currently only people who drive are supporting our transportation system. But if you think about it, everybody in the state of Minnesota benefits from a vibrant transportation system. All of us have to wear clothes. All of us have to eat. All of us want to go see the doc. Sometimes we have some entertainment. Everybody benefits from our transportation system, but not everybody is paying for it. And that's the thing that I want to emphasize. So there are two bills that you're going to hear about. The first one is the bill that I have authored, and that is Senate File 3081. And what it proposes to do is to take 100% of the auto parts sales tax, shift it into HUTDF, and from there would be used for our transportation infrastructure. The difference is right now, under Minnesota law, we put in about 145 million, a little bit more, every year into HUTDF out of auto parts sales tax. Because we are dealing with a set number, the percentage is going down. So right now, our percentage is about 48% of auto parts sales tax. By the year 2025, that would be reduced to about 43%. And that's because we're sitting at a fixed amount. So what we are proposing to do is take 100%, and then that money will increase as the years go by, and we will be putting in additional funds. Current law, $145 million. If we go to 100% sales tax in 2022, it would be $303.5 million that would go into infrastructure, and the number goes up from there. So the first bill is Senate File 3081. That is the purpose of that bill. The second version of the bill is Senate File 3086. That is Senator Howe's bill, and as I said, it's just a different version of the same idea, and I'm going to have Senator Howe explain that to you, after which there are a number of folks behind me that are in support of this bill. The operating engineers from Local 49, the Associated General Contractors, North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, Minnesota Chamber of Commerce, all of those groups. It's a varied group of supporters that are behind this bill, and I'm going to have them come up and just give you their thoughts in support of this bill. But to Senate File 3086, Senator Howe.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Newman, and I'm Senator Howe. I'm from Rockville, Minnesota. This automotive parts sales tax it was my brainchild back when I was still in the House. But and I think Senator Newman did a good job of explaining what we're looking to do. The difference between his bill and my bill is it takes and dedicates a percentage, 15%, and that may change, but 15% to small cities and to townships. The reason that's important is those folks buy gas too. Right now, the only folks that are dedicated to get that money are big cities. There's no dedicated fund for the small cities streets and for the townships. So what this does is it gets a steady stream of funding for those small cities, cities under 5,000, who right now get no funding. The only way they repair their roads is property taxes. So this gives them the funds to properly maintain their roads, and it gives the townships steady stream of money so they can do the same thing and properly maintain their roads. That's what my version of the bill does. It just takes a certain percent. It takes 15% to townships, 15% to small cities, and it gives them a steady stream of funds to actually plan and maintain their roads, and they don't hit that funding right now. So this will be a steady stream so they can actually do that. Following me, I'll ask Jason George to come up from the 49ers and say why this is so important.
Thank you, Senator Howe. I'm happy to be here today with our business partners, Associated General Contractors in the business community. We partner more than people think, and especially on big issues like this that drive the state of Minnesota. This is a great proposal. We were supportive of the first time around when Senator Newman and others led on getting half of the auto parts sales tax dedicated to the transportation fund. When that happened, we heard about how that was going to be really difficult for the general fund and that it would impact other areas of spending. I think since we've done that, we've seen the opposite. When you invest in our people that make good union wages with pensions and benefits and health care, and a solid upper middle class living these days, they pay taxes. I think we're seeing that. The construction industry has done well throughout the pandemic, and we're seeing a $7 billion surplus as a result of that. So the idea that we can't afford to do this just doesn't make any sense to me, especially with the amount of money that we're talking about that Senator Newman laid out, the minuscule part of the state budget that we're talking about dedication. Dedication is important. The federal government just did a big, massive one-time spending bill. I'm confident that the legislature, there's broad agreement that we'll do our part as a state for one-time matching dollars. But this is about ongoing funding and making sure that we take care of the entire state, as Senator Howe said, and also for the future. We grow the fund, we continue to take care of all the needs that we have. And when it comes to workforce, we are uniquely prepared in this state to deal with those challenges. We have a world-class training facility. You'll hear from the carpenters here who also have the same thing. We have the ability to scale up. We've never been not able to meet a challenge when it comes to building projects. And we are absolutely prepared if there's more investment, which is needed, to do that. So proud to be here today, happy to stand with my business partners here and senators, and appreciate your efforts and moving this forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. If Mr. Warkey would come up with the Associated General Contractors.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Warkey. I'm the Executive Director of the Associated General Contractors of Minnesota. We're the state's oldest and largest construction trade association, and we're the businesses that are in the construction space that deliver the work that we're talking about here today. And as mentioned by our partners here with labor and with the business community, what you're seeing here today is what we look like every day on the ground, on the job site, and then on the policy level here at the Capitol. This is an important issue. We come together, as Jason mentioned, on the important issues that matter for the state, and this certainly is one, and I want to thank Senator Newman and Senator Howe for their good work. As they mentioned, the long-term sustainable investments are important, but they're important to contractors for a particular reason, and that's because it allows them as businesses to plan, and to plan their work, and to plan for a future market. And as Senator Newman characterized the existing flowage of funds, the gas tax is, as he stated, a dying star, and I think that's aptly important here. It's a revenue stream that is phasing out, but it has been the star of the show for a long time. And we're here today to support this bill as a different forward. Again, an additionally efficient and economical delivery of construction projects and services is relying on predictable and stable funding. And I'll illustrate that with the most recently completed I-35 job in Minneapolis into downtown. That project was completed in 3 years in a very, very record amount of time. And if we did not have predictable and stable funding at our beck and call in this industry, that project would have taken significantly longer and would have been staged, been more disruptive than it was, would have cost businesses more and waste time and wasted efficiency. I think this bill dedicating the auto parts sales tax is one of the long-term solutions. It puts our state's road and bridge investment strategy on a much better path. And as Jason mentioned, our industry, working as partners, is well positioned to deliver a more robust and larger construction program because we have the ability, as Jason said, to scale up and to position ourselves to take advantage of opportunity and to deliver really good value for the taxpayers and the citizens of Minnesota. So we're excited to be a part of this, and I want to thank Senator Newman and I want to thank Senator Howe for their leadership today, and thank you all for the opportunity to speak and would stand for questions later.
Thank you, Mr. Warkey. Next, we're going to hear from the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters.
Thank you, Senator. My name is Ryan Posanowski with the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters. When we work on the issue of transportation funding, we think about projects. For a carpenter, a pile driver, or other skilled construction professional, these projects aren't temporary jobs. they add up to a career. Having transportation projects in the planning and construction phases takes years, and it also takes dedicated funds to make this happen. Years of planning to make sure that projects are done safely, efficiently, and cost-effectively. Our contractors and state agencies need reliable, long-term funding to have the confidence to make workforce and supply investments now for projects that won't break ground for months or even years. These projects are also career builders for apprentices who are looking to make a living working in the highway-heavy construction trades. In a time when blue-collar jobs in other sectors have been vanishing around the state, construction is an excellent middle-class job and career. We know that the pipeline of projects leads to more opportunities for young workers, and we are ready to train that next generation of those workers. Thank you to the coalition and to Chair Newman for this legislation. We look forward to maximizing the federal dollars that come to Minnesota and moving a transportation funding bill that is about building opportunities, jobs, and careers. Thank you. I'll turn it over to the Senator.
Thank you, Ryan. Next up, we have Bentley Graves from the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Graves.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the chair said, I'm Bentley Graves with the Minnesota Chamber of Commerce. We represent 6,000 employers across the state of all sizes of business, all industries, all corners of the state, and through that represent about 500,000 employees in Minnesota. And advocacy around transportation funding has been a cornerstone of our advocacy program for forever, and that's largely because businesses rely on a safe, reliable and efficient transportation system to get their goods to market and to get their employees and their customers to their door. And just to kind of put a little flavor to that or give some context to that, our friends, our colleagues down in Mankato, Greater Mankato Growth, the Mankato Chamber, have highlighted a few things that I think really kind of put a finer point in this. So just as an example, Mankato has the highest rate of retail spending per capita in the state, more than any other metro area, which highlights, of course, the fact that they draw in consumers from all the surrounding area. Similarly, the same can be said about its draw as an employment hub. Its daytime population increases by 40% each day. And when it comes to movement of goods, more soybeans are processed in Mankato than anywhere else in North America. But Mankato, just like everywhere else, all of its activity depends upon a robust transportation infrastructure. But investments in transportation also can spark economic development and economic expansion. Our colleagues at the Owatonna Chamber, along with the vice chair of this committee, our good friend Senator Jasinski, often point to the fact that when the completion of the four-lane Highway 14 between Owatonna and Dodge Center was announced, it brought significant new investment to the area. More than $130 million from new businesses coming into the area, and more than $20 million of investment through expanding existing businesses. So these statistics from just two communities around the state highlight the importance of continued investment in transportation, and we're very grateful to Senator Newman, Senator Howe, Senator Dames, and their colleagues in bringing forward this proposal today. We've long been advocates for using the sales tax on auto parts to help fund transportation, but as Senator Newman pointed out, the usefulness of that revenue stream has been somewhat held back by the fact that it's been a fixed amount in statute. So moving it to 100% will not just bring more money into the system in the near term, but it will also allow it to grow over time, keeping pace with the ever-increasing cost of construction. And so we're very excited to offer our support along with our partners in the labor industry and the construction industry to help hopefully see this across the finish line this year and ensure that we have another robust funding stream in the mix to allow us to make the investments we need to over time. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Bentley. So you can see we've got a coalition of businesses and the trades that are fully behind this proposal, and we look forward to hearing more from them. We have one final speaker, that is Senator Dames. He would like to weigh in on the issue. Senator Dames.
Well, thank you, Senator Newman. I'm Senator Gary Dames. I'm from Redwood Falls, Minnesota, and I represent 6 counties out in southwest Minnesota. And I want to thank the authors and the previous testifiers for pointing out the significance of this bill and why this is so important to roads and bridges in the state of Minnesota. As we all know, We need roads and bridges, and we need to continue developing and maintaining those roads and bridges, and that takes a lot of money. As we heard earlier, the cost is going up all the time for roads and bridges, yet the gas tax doesn't rise to keep pace with that. And so there has to be another source to do that if we're really going to get serious about roads and bridges and keep that funding going, and this is a perfect way of doing that. When this first started, it worked very well, and I fully support taking 100% of that and putting it into the roads and bridges, because as inflation goes, so goes the increase in the sales tax that comes in from the auto parts and accessories. So that makes a big difference. Another thing is that we got to make sure that when we get this done, that the sales tax for this stays with roads and bridges and doesn't get ventured off into other things that aren't necessary, that we need to keep it focused on roads and bridges. And having good roads and bridges is very, very critical to rural Minnesota. If we take a look at rural Minnesota, we're the providers of a lot of the food and a lot of these things that get manufactured in rural Minnesota, moving those in and out of the Twin Cities and into other markets, in many cases world markets. In rural Minnesota, we have a strong agricultural economy, and that strong agricultural economy has a lot of value added. We have a lot of value added industries. We have a lot of food manufacturing industries in rural Minnesota. We have a lot of other industries, and they rely heavily on these roads and bridges to get their commodities, their resources out to the manufacturing plants and the finished goods back to the consumer. So it's very important that we have a very solid infrastructure program for roads and bridges, and we need to make sure that we keep our roads and bridges safer, and this is a way to do it. So with that said, thank you, folks, and we will stand for questions.
So in the current statute, what is considered an auto part? Like if I buy an oil filter and 4 quarts of oil, is it all an auto part, or is just the filter?
Anything that you put in your car or on your car is considered an auto parts. And to be perfect, to really understand what this is we don't go out and collect every piece of sales tax and identify that. There's a national index that kind of identifies how many auto parts are sold in Minnesota, and they just take that percentage and take that, and that's where that comes from. So that way it keeps that administrative cost down and makes sure most of those funds go where it needs to go. But if it's a tire, if it's a rim, no matter what it is, if it's a fluid, that sales tax is part of that figure. Windshield wiper blade, whatever you got.
The other thing I would add is that if you get a hold of Senate File 3081, the bill itself contains all of the existing law along with the new proposed changes. And in the existing law, what constitutes auto parts is pretty well defined. And so you will find in the existing law an answer to your question, I think.
But the registers aren't programmed to like part out. Like if you're at Menards and buy, lumber and auto parts, it doesn't part it out to the State Department of Revenue. It's an index thing, is that what you're saying?
Right, and that's where that national index figures that out for us, so we don't have to actually track all that. So they just look at that national index as far as how many auto parts are sold here in Minnesota, and that's what they use.
Senator Newman, I've got a question from Mary LaHammer with CPT. She says, in light of your long efforts on this and now retirement from the legislature, is this a must-do bucket list issue you must get done before you go?
This initiative has absolutely nothing to do with my retirement and everything to do with what is good for the state of Minnesota. You ask any of the gentlemen that are standing behind me who support this initiative, and it is something that we have thought about and worked on for a long time. And it is simply the right thing to do for the people of this state, because a vibrant, good transportation system in the state of Minnesota is good for the people, it's good for our economy, it's good for public safety. There are all manner of good things. not the least of which are our businesses and our tradesfolks. Think of all of the jobs that this funding will provide for those in the construction industries, and that all spins off into our economy. It's all about Minnesota, it's not about me.
I will say, though, that I would like to sell the Suburban that was the brainchild of coming up with this idea, so as soon as we get this done, I'm selling that Suburban.
You mentioned inflation, but you don't support indexing the current gas tax to inflation, is that correct?
No, I don't ever put that in my mouth, but, no, that index is just it's a national deal on, they track how many auto parts are sold in each state, and that's the index that they use. But no, I'm not a fan of indexing it to inflation. You don't find that in any of these bills.
Senator Newman, on the user fee topic, would you agree with the concept of having the money that electric vehicle buyers that are charged now, would that kind of in lieu of gas tax fee they pay, would that be something that you'd like to see dedicated just to charging, construction of charging stations?
You're referring to electric vehicles at this point?
Right.
The answer to your question is yes. The Constitution indicates that, we really aren't talking about a gas tax. We're looking at, any substance that propels a motor vehicle. I think that's what the Constitution says. Electricity propels a motor vehicle. It should be paying a tax in lieu of the gas tax, and there are ways to do it. As a matter of fact, Senator Howe has a bill that will be coming up in transportation that addresses that very issue. Senator Howe.
Yeah, Senate File 1602 actually treats electricity as a fuel and taxes it as such. And much the same way that we collect the fuel tax at the refinery, we would be doing the same, to try to do the same thing here and collect that at the utility. So before, when they hook up those electric chargers that are coming, that would be, we would, when a utility company provides that service there, we would collect that fee from the utility for that fuel.
And that would be a dedicated tax.
It would, because it's a fuel, it would be dedicated just like any other fuel tax.
So is this going to then provide more money for transportation? Because, I mean, projects get funded one way or another. Is this sort of more of an accounting thing, or is it an accountability thing, or what?
Projects do not get funded one way or the other. We are very far behind in the various projects that we have to do in the state of Minnesota. One real quick example, there's about 1,000 bridges in the state of Minnesota that need work, and we don't have the money to fix them. So projects do not get money no matter what. In point of fact, I have got a bill. We will be having a hearing in the Transportation Committee where I've asked all of the senators in the Senate, all of the senators to give me the name of the projects in their district that need addressing, because the need is so great. This will provide additional money for our construction needs on roads and bridges. It will help. It isn't going to answer the whole question. In addition to the money that we are talking about here, we have got to increase the general fund spending on transportation in Minnesota for two reasons. Number one, if we take an agency like MnDOT, that is a very, very large agency, and it is literally starved for general fund money to operate its agency. Consequently, there's that big pot of money out there, the trunk highway fund, that they keep dipping into. And I keep objecting. But in deference to them, they don't have enough money to operate their agency. So we need general fund money so they can operate their agency like any other state agency needs money. And then, of course, the other thing is that everybody benefits, everybody should pay, so we should be getting a larger percentage of the general fund money to support transportation infrastructure in the state of Minnesota so that everybody pays their fair share, not just those of us who operate a motor vehicle.
transportation from the general fund is 0.5%. So you'd like to see an increase there, or this method, or any number of methods, so that roads and bridges do get the attention that they need.
I would like to see this proposal we're talking about today go forward. I would like to see an increase over and above that out of the general fund, not out of part sales tax. Absolutely. I am not going to support an increase in the gas tax for the reasons I've already stated. I'm not looking for a tax increase on anybody. I am asking that the money in our general fund be redirected into transportation so that transportation has enough money to fulfill the needs of the people in the state of Minnesota for their transportation infrastructure needs. Keep in mind that in addition to roads and bridges, transportation in Minnesota involves the ports. We're sitting in the middle of the North American continent and we have a seaport up in Duluth. We have access to the Gulf of Mexico through the Mississippi River. We have airports, we have freight rail, we have transit. All of those have significant financial needs. And if we do not begin to recognize the fact that we are shortfalling all of our transportation needs in all of those areas, there's going to come a day of reckoning when our children are going to be faced with debt that you cannot imagine. We have to begin now, and we have to begin increasing the amount of money available in the transportation arena.
We've got two more questions here from Alex with Forum Communications. This first one, raising the gas tax may not be a solution for 20 years in the future, but why not raise it now if there are that many projects that need funding? And then I'll answer the second one, or I'll ask the second one.
There is very little support for increasing the gas tax. Very little support. I really cannot imagine trying to raise the gas tax right now and actually getting it accomplished. What we're talking about today with redirecting the existing sales tax on auto parts sales tax, we have a chance of getting that done. And the coalition that is standing behind me is going to help us with that. And we will have additional funds as a result available to transportation, whereas trying to entertain today increase in the gas tax, just unrealistic. And I do not support that.
The second question, what are DFL signaling on the auto parts tax proposal? Any conversations or indication or cooperation on the issue from the House side?
That's a very good question. I can tell you that Chair Hornstein and I have had conversations about general fund transfers into to the transportation arena as well as this. And those discussions are ongoing. And I will tell you that, again, I'm going to rely very heavily on the coalition standing behind me to help us convince all of the legislators in the state of Minnesota, both sides of the aisle, that this is a good idea.
All right, and then one more question from Bill Warner with Minnesota News Network. Why dedicate the entire sales tax on auto parts to roads and bridges if there are plans to tax electric vehicle charging, which would replace the dying star gas tax?
Because we need both. It's in my world, it isn't right and it's not fair that we have electric vehicles on the road, using our roads, using our transportation system, and they are not paying an equivalent of a gas tax. Currently, they're paying $75 a year, and that is, it is not sufficient. We need the money for the gas tax equivalent on electric vehicles because they are coming, and in 10 years, there's going to be many, many of them on the road. We need that revenue. But in addition to that revenue, we need more money, and this proposal that we have in front of you today is part of that, satisfying that need. But even if we had the gas tax equivalent for electric vehicles, give us the 100% on the sales tax. You're still not going to have enough money. It's a start, that's all. It's a start. And remember how expensive that we are talking about what these projects are. In the metropolitan area in particular, when we're talking about expanding freeways and building bridges and overpasses, It is enormously expensive, but it's needed. It's needed for the people and it's needed for our economy.
Will we see a mileage tax in our lifetimes, replacing the gas tax?
I'm willing to talk about it. The problem with the gas tax involves some folks in the legislature that are very nervous about data privacy. They don't necessarily agree that the government should know how many miles they drive and where they drive. That's even more important. So that would be something that I'm willing to talk about. But that is an uphill battle. It really is.
This isn't a good day for you to go have coffee with Frank Hornstein in Minneapolis, right?
I'm sorry?
This isn't a good day for you to have sidewalk coffee with Hornstein, right?
It's always a good day to have a cup of coffee with Chair Hornstein.
All right, thanks,
Okay,
guys.
thank you very much.
Mr. Chair? Yeah, see you across the way here in a minute.
Yeah, I will see you. We'll be seeing you over at committee. We'll do it again.
That worked out well, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
Good. See you